Sup, homies? A lot of you might have already realized how much I love music, and that's pretty normal because, come on, who doesn't like music? Mark Zuckerberg. But I noticed that not a lot of people listen to music the way that I do, because I listen primarily by albums, and not by singular songs. So I have 5 albums that I think I honestly love more than myself. God, that really hurts to say, but it's true. To start out, this is an album that most of you probably don't know of. It came out last year, and I really adore the songwriting and general appeal of the album. It's called Chew the Scenery, and it's by a guy named Oscar Lang. And this album's kind of strange to me, because I started listening to it in my car speakers, and I never realized just how different it is to listen with headphones on. The insane distortion of some of these instruments. By God, it's glorious. And I also really think the lyrics, despite talking mostly about how a bad relationship is going and the struggle you might be going through, it's honestly very mature. Like, how many albums talk about, God, I was cheated on, but you know what? It doesn't even matter because you were a bitch and I deserve better than you, so I got better. None of that shit happens on this album. To me, it really seems like recovery from a bad breakup, and in a really earnest manner, too. Some of these lyrics say, I always knew you to be laughing at yourself. You're way too good at trying to hide the way you felt. I figured out that you were crying out for help. Plus, this next line absolutely hit hard the first time I heard it. There's some hesitation behind your eyes, your reservations at living your life. Don't try and tell me that everything's fine. Jesus, dude, this is on the same song. So if you've gone through a bad breakup and you need a chill guy to sit on the rooftop with you and tell you, hey man, don't get too hung up on it. Just take time out and chill. This is the album for you. Okay, and next up we have oh, hell yes! Radiohead's In Rainbows is so good, you guys! Literally everything from the dreamy production, to the mesmerizing vocals, to the godlike theme and beautiful songwriting, this album has it all. It's kind of an album that you think has been praised to death, but in reality, I think it's just because the more that everyone keeps listening to it, the more that we keep finding things to talk about. Like, just recently, there was a video made about the last song on the album called Videotape, where nobody could really figure out why the song sounded so strange, because nobody could find the downbeat of the song. And there was a huge analysis on the song itself that involved tons of music theory work. I'll link the video in the description and put it up in that beautiful little card over there. But man, if you haven't heard this album yet, definitely do so. It's incredible. Alright, so next up is Random Access Memories by Daft Punk is legitimately a goddamn masterpiece of a record. It fuses the elements of the duo's past in a more modern and instantly renowned classic. I have a lot of memories attached to this album. No pun intended, for real. And honestly, to me, it's like the biggest musical statement that not just Daft Punk was able to make, but the biggest statement to electronic music in general. The entire album at 1 hour and 15 minutes is a journey, exploring the mind of robots learning to understand humanity and looking back on their own memories. Music, love, freedom, search for a purpose, spending time with the ones you love. Each song conveys a message to the music world about the beauty of being alive. God, just thinking about it's giving me chills. You know, screw it. Just give me a second. Everywhere I go is a moment to shine. There's fragments of time, so I'll just keep playing back. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I literally just had to listen to it. I actually stopped reading the recording just because I wanted to listen. Not only is the theme of this album beautiful, but I think that Random Access Memories might actually have the best production that I've ever heard on an album. Like, ever? Like, how in the world do you do this? Hats off to Thomas Bangalter and Guy Manuel de Humam Cristo. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. These guys made an album for the ages. Rest easy, Daft Punk. Alright, next up is an album a lot of you might know just because of the album cover alone, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way right now. Weezer's Blue album. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that this is probably one of my favorite albums of all time. Deal with it. So Weezer's a band that made 2 good albums and the rest were basically playing the slots, but it's not like they've stopped trying at all. Far from it, actually. To put it simply, Weezer is a band that has a lot of trial and error associated with them, but their debut album to me was still never topped. I think Pinkerton is also a 10 out of 10 album, but to me, there's very few albums that can show this much modesty and still hold the respect of the listener because of how stupid the songwriting can be, but in the best possible way. Like, you'll never hear a song like Pink Triangle in this day and age, but you'll also never hear a song be as open to admitting that you're into nerd culture and don't give a damn about what others think, without it sounding corny and awkward. Yeah, Weezer didn't do that at all. They just made In the Garage and it was a banger. Plus, Only in Dreams is not only my favorite Weezer song, but probably one of my favorite songs ever. This build-up to the finale is absolutely absurd, all the instruments just climbing higher and higher throughout the whole song. It's like the band didn't even plan this song. It's like they were just playing from the heart and this is what happened. Trust me when I say you do not want to see how much stuff I've written about Weezer in the notes on my phone. I adore their music. And they're just a band that makes you feel generally really good about yourself anytime you hear their music. Unless you're talking about Pinkerton, then you're just depressed. But now this leads me to my last album, and I'm gonna say it right now, you will not know what it is. You've probably never even heard of this album or the artist. The album that I'm talking about is the Metheny group's Letter from Home. Never before has an album completely blown me away with its style. I was always into jazz and I always really wanted to study jazz music, but I never really could have imagined an album to be this professional. Every melody, every goddamn song is just so well put together. I've listened to it way too many times to count, and it's so impressive because after listening to both the group's discography and Pat Metheny's discography, I understand their style so well and see exactly what makes it tick. The true beauty of this album is a little too much to put into words, considering how important it is to me. But in a way, this is an album that teaches you how to breathe. It wants you to know that there's an entire world out there and it's ready to be explored. It tells tales about nature, routine, culture, dreams, and it explores everything that the world has to offer and more. It sort of has a road trip theme to it and keeps that theme consistent throughout the entire album. It's like a journey around the world that you never want to leave behind, but you know that even if you do leave it behind, you'll always have the memories of that journey with you as a way to tell you of what's to come. God, this album is beautiful. If you like jazz, you're gonna love it, and if you don't love jazz, you're still gonna love it. And there you have it, 5 albums that I adore with all my heart. If you want to check out any of these albums, I'll leave a link in the description below. But yeah, honestly, I love pouring my heart out over stuff like this. I'm glad you stuck through until the end, and if you like these albums, why not leave a like? You don't have to, but it's much appreciated. I guess that's about all for today. I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Is a moment to shine, fragments of time, so I'll just keep playing back these fragments of time. It's a moment to shine.